It was like a give and take thing, yeah? You used to give slaps, they used to take it, but they used to come back because they'd want to be in your club. And they felt protected, and everybody else felt protected. Attitude adjuster, well, that's what we were in those days. Southend was vibrant in the 80s. It was a fun place to be.
You know, you weren't allowed to go within sort of a 5-mile radius of the seafront. You know, it was sort of a banned place growing up as a child, you know, and in the 80s it was...
That's right.
You know,
That's
if you actually
yeah.
got down there, it was like, yes!
we're at the seafront.
Yeah, we're at the seafront.
You had the bikers, all the mods.
Bank holidays, everyone coming down on the trains.
That's it. And the mods and the skinheads used to fight each other, and I used to work on the seafront at the time, and it was quite scary.
Then I had hair. You know, there's a lot going on, lots of new stuff happening. You know, electronic music started to kick in.
Blondie, I used to love Blondie. Wham, Culture Club. There was so much, wasn't there, music-wise.
The 80s was like, it was just a different time. I was known as a bit of an arrogant fucker. It was really glamorous, you know what I mean? You had no cameras, massive amounts of money, women that were throwing themselves at you, and fights which you walked away from unscathed every time. I mean, I was like 20, 21, young, loads to prove in those days. I learned to talk later on, yeah? At the time, I was just I suppose I was a meathead.
I used to run the salon in the 80s. Perms were in, getting your hair as curly and as big
as possible.
As you possibly could.
Yeah.
I've got really good memories because it was just fun. It was an approachable salon. People used to come in and just sit and have a cup of tea. And it's a good feeling.
It's an outside branch of a family, isn't it? I think.
People tell their hairdressers the most amazing things. Who's up to mischief with who, and who's being watched by the tax man, and who's selling what to who, and
marriages, affairs,
personal body problems,
also everything.
Boxing in the 80s, but them days it was quite harsh. You meet different characters in boxing them days. It's totally different from now. You was either tough or you wasn't them days, I'd say. You know, a lot of hard fighters didn't get recognised, but they were out there, you know, doing their stuff.
You know, all the girls used to love a doorman. They used to love the doorman, you know, they'd all be, oh, there's Brian. They would know their public that were coming in, and you would have a little banter with them, and they'd be in the club going, I'm watching you, and it was a real good atmosphere with the bouncers. And then it would sort of change because they had to be so much more on their guard with people. Yeah. And all of a sudden it was a completely different thing. It was more about people getting into acid house, and it was more on the mind than actually enjoying the music and everything.
If you're not right in your mind, you can't fight because it makes you weak. That's what you have to prepare yourself to get yourself right. I put my music on or just sit away from everybody and I'll get myself mentally ready. So you have to have a little bit of fear in you and feed off of it to bring you along, you know, that's how it is.
Well, I mean, you had acid come on in the late 80s, a bit of weed, pills. Coke's the worst thing, it just makes people really aggressive.
You didn't know whether people would have weapons, it wasn't just drunk people.
One of the first clubs I ever worked was on the seafront.
It was where all the locals always met, and that was like a big family, wasn't it? We used to get the band in there with the village idiot that would get up and do his party piece every week, you know, and then it'd all end up in a punch-up at some point.
Every Saturday night was fight night.
But that was just a Saturday night, wasn't it?
That was, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, it was.
Fun.
I've looked out and this fucking queue's gone from Brockett's all the way almost to the Kersal. There's hundreds of people. As it was filling up, people were just getting pushed out the fire exit and wandering off home.
I wouldn't come with any tune, I'd just come in my black shorts and my robe and I'd go to work.
It's kicked off and it's like Wild West. I mean, glasses, chairs. We had one guy pull a gun and and you've got this particular club owner right in the middle of all these rugby players. I don't fucking want them ever in my fucking club again, they're cunts. And that was it. And we're just like standing back to back and we're just bashing everything that comes towards us. My mates are the best friends that I could ever have. I know that if ever I had a problem, they would help me and I would do the same for them. You depended on them and they depended on you. It doesn't matter how scared you are, and there are certain situations where you are, you know, your april's twitching, but you've got to be able to turn around to some group of guys. I know there's 10 of you and there's 2 of us, but you ain't coming in. No matter what you think, if you're going to try, you're going to get hurt. I may come off second best, but I'll be the biggest, the best second best you've ever come up against. And me and you will be sharing a hospital bed next to each other. And I promise you I'll be better before you, and I'll come and beat the granny out of you again.